à-bas-le-ciel.
And then the internet was a big one, because the internet came along and I started watching those videos that a lot of them that PETA puts up of factory farming.
Oh,
and
terrible.
It's horrible. It's not just terrible. It's like it doesn't make any sense. It's like this is like human beings at their very worst. We've treated these things as like the most, I mean, not just as a commodity, but we've ignored their feelings and their thoughts and the fact that they have instincts and needs, and that we've stuffed them into these tiny little cages. It's a sickness.
À-bas-le-ciel.
I participated in a storm of controversy today. I participated in not one but two massive debates on Discord. And I won. I won both. I won the first one while bench pressing over 220 pounds. I forget, it was maybe 230, but 200. I was distracted. I was having this debate on Discord. And the second one, I was doing push-ups and upright row with about 105 pounds. But I won that also. Anyway, this is about the second debate. And Melissa's off camera, but she's just asked me a few questions about this. So the second debate, which we're talking about here, had to do with secondhand leather and secondhand morality. A very small number of vegans want to make excuses for secondhand leather, keeping, retaining, and using items that are secondhand leather themselves. I don't dig secondhand morality, and I'm morally consistent on this because I'm also against secondhand pets and secondhand horses. I don't care that you didn't buy the horse in the first place. If you keep the horse as a captive and you ride on its back and you feed it hay and you take it to the vet, you're doing all the things that horse ownership entails. Whether you call this exploitation or use or just ownership, it's not vegan. Doesn't matter that you got the horse for free. Doesn't matter if it was a gift. Doesn't matter if you bought it secondhand. Doesn't matter if it was a rescue animal. Does not matter if you stole it, right? And this applies for me also directly to leather. If you broke into the leather store with a gun and stole it at gunpoint, it's still leather. You're still acquiring, owning, and using leather. And if inasmuch as veganism is opposed to the use of animal products, it's opposed to the use of leather, whether you stole it, whether you got it as a hand-me-down, like it was given to you for free by your older brother, or you got it secondhand. Buying leather at a secondhand shop is still buying leather. And again, even if you eliminate the buying stage, you're still participating in this cycle of suffering at all the other stages. You're still participating in the market mechanism and the ethical decision here, just like anyone else, but just without that first stage of paying money into the system. Now, if your version of vegan ethics hangs totally on the moment of purchase, you may not see it that way. So those are the people I've just been debating with. But for me, it's the whole gestalt, right? Ultimately, I have used this example before on the channel. If someone is putting cocaine down on a table and then they have to get up and leave the nightclub. So there's a nightclub and somebody's put this cocaine. I don't care that the cocaine is there for me to use for free. Someone else might say, oh, well, this cocaine would go to waste. I personally, ethically, wouldn't purchase the cocaine, but given that it's free here, given that someone else has in effect bought the cocaine, they would use it for free. From my perspective, that's what you could call a free rider fallacy. The fact that someone else has committed murder or someone else has committed rape or someone else has purchased cocaine, if you regard it as morally bad, you're not looking for your opportunity to jump on and take advantage of that for free. If you regard the production of leather as morally bad, the purchase and sale of leather as morally bad, you're not looking for your opportunity to be a moral free rider and jump on and get it for free. You say, oh, well, somebody else already killed it. Somebody else already packaged it and sold it. I can get it secondhand, or I can get it as a hand-me-down. Great, now is my chance to wear leather and use it. No, that's morally incoherent. I'm not into secondhand leather. I'm not into secondhand morality. Now, there's a flip side to this, which is what my girlfriend Melissa asked me about, which is about the vegan not being in the role of the recipient, but the role of the donor. So when people first go vegan, they often own meat, they have some meat in their fridge, they own dairy, they own eggs, they own leather. And the question is, what should they do with these objects? Now, I half jokingly say to people when they ask me, get a shovel, go in your backyard, dig a grave and bury it. I'm only half joking because this is indirectly my opinion. If you make the decision to take this leather and give it to your brother Tom, you're making the moral judgment, oh, I would never wear this leather. I would never, this is immoral for me, but for someone like you, it's acceptable. I mean, this is looking down your nose at Tom saying, well, for an inferior person like you, Tom, this is okay. Same with cocaine. If let's say somehow I've ended up with a bag of cocaine in my possession, am I going to turn around and hand it to my own daughter and say, well, look, I have no use for this. I would never use cocaine, but maybe you and your friends can have fun with it. No, it's totally morally incoherent. Again, the issue of it being my daughter obviously is more evocative because there's an issue of moral responsibility. But my point is, we're all morally responsible for each other. Doesn't matter if it's my daughter or my brother or my friend from high school or my high school principal. Go to the high school principal and say, hey, maybe you can make use of this cocaine. If you think cocaine is bad, you don't want to use it yourself, you don't want to encourage others to use it, you're not going to enable others to use it. If I think wearing leather is bad, I'm not going to use it myself, I'm not going to give it to my brother Tom, etc. Now, actually burying it in your backyard is not that great. Not that great a use. It's not that great a solution. I mean, it's not that great a way to get rid of it. But I think for a lot of us, I did come into veganism as an ecological vegan, something Melissa and I have in common. But I think there's a false aesthetic of waste and waste avoidance involved here, where people say they don't want to waste things, and then this justifies doing something that's immoral. So for me, it's the same with the cocaine. Oh, well, this cocaine is going to go to waste if you don't snort it up or use it because someone else left it here. You didn't buy it, you didn't plan it this way, but it's here, so now you can be a free rider on it. No. Cocaine belongs in the garbage. Good. For me, it's morally positive to see cocaine swept off the table and thrown out with the trash. Good. It belongs in the trash. That's morally positive. It's not morally neutral. That's a good thing. Cheese belongs in the garbage. Good. I don't regret that. I don't say, oh, what a waste. This should have been eaten by a human being. No, that's the opposite of what I believe. I don't want to eat it myself. I don't think anyone should eat it. I'm morally opposed to people eating cheese. So when cheese gets put in the garbage, it's not a waste. I don't regard this as a waste. I regard it as morally positive. Sorry, so on down the line. Leather. I mean, now, my argument on this, again, is not based on the symbolic value of leather, although that's also interesting. If you are morally opposed to rape, you won't be going around wearing a t-shirt that says rape is normal, rape is okay, rape is no big deal. It's morally incoherent. This is the symbolic argument that people like Gary Francione lean on, where they say, oh, well, by wearing leather, you're sending out the signal, wearing leather is normal, wearing leather is acceptable. Now, I think that's interesting kind of window dressing. I think that's an interesting element of living in a culture, and there's some truth to that. If everyone around you is wearing fur, it becomes socially normalizing. If everyone around you is smoking cigarettes, it's socially normalizing. If you take a stand and say, no, smoking cigarettes is wrong, then you're also not against cigarettes going in the garbage. You're not regarding that as a waste. Say, great, let's throw more cigarettes in the garbage. They're not going to waste if they're getting thrown out. However, so it's not based on symbolic reasoning in that sense, but it is based on an acceptance that, one, there is no hard and fast moral distinction between acquiring something new and acquiring it secondhand, whether it's secondhand leather, secondhand rape, secondhand murder, secondhand cocaine. Now, I just want to insert here the caveat. I can recognize that something is the lesser of two evils, but the lesser of two evils is still evil. I do think it's different if you're given a leather jacket as a hand-me-down from your older brother. I understand. It's not the same as you going out to buy it. There are people who inherit fur coats from their grandparents. It's a 100-year-old fur coat or something. I understand that's less evil than going to a store now and buying a new one, or going to a store and ordering one and saying, yeah, kill that animal, slit its throat and make it into this style of coat. No, I want this style, so make sure it's an extra gray animal and kill it, and I want them vertical, not horizontally, and this kind of shit. You can hear people talking about this. This is part of how the fur industry, a lot of stuff is made to order. My mom's fur coat was made to order. I know, unless she's gotten rid of it. My mom used to go around in a fur coat. I remember that. Anyway, the fact that something is the lesser of two evils doesn't mean it's morally neutral. And again, wasting something, throwing away something that you think is evil, from my perspective, is morally positive. So I just got the argument, for example, oh, but if you let it go to waste, like if you don't eat this leftover cheese, this leftover pizza, if you don't eat this roadkill animal, then you're going to go out and buy more broccoli. So do harm to it. And I argue back, no, I see buying broccoli as morally positive. Oh, well, if you don't recycle these secondhand leather shoes, then you're going to go out and buy a new pair of vegan shoes. And that's somehow terrible. No, buying vegan shoes is morally positive. And again, whether it's direct or indirect, if it's a knock-on defect for your brother Tom or something, Tom also, you should encourage him to go out and buy vegan shoes, whether you're the donor or the recipient. Ultimately, if you're trying to stamp out the use of cigarettes, a lot of cigarettes are going to end up in the garbage. If you're trying to stamp out the use of leather shoes, a lot of leather shoes are going to end up in the garbage. If you call that a waste, I think you're in a morally incoherent position. What did you say, babe? All right. Okay. Hey, under 10 minutes, I think that's a wrap. For me, it's a really morally simple issue. For someone like a natural vegan, it's more complex because a natural vegan doesn't oppose all animal use. She allows the use of animals as pets, and then in an allegory to that, she says you're allowed to own a cow and keep it in captivity and exploit it to produce milk, in as much as you treat the cow as well as you treat a cat or a dog. For me, it's all animal use. Those animals don't want to be a toy or a plaything for human amusement. That cow doesn't want to live in a shed in captivity and produce milk for you to consume. None of that's morally coherent. And using animals to produce clothing out of them or to produce food out of them is immoral, even if you somehow got the animal secondhand.
À-bas-le-ciel.